It's for some people. They're super dedicated. Their goal in life is to be that store manager. It's not my goal, but kudos to them. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Alyssa. Today's video is going to be me describing my retail experience and why I hated it. Before I jump into the video, just take a second, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. And yeah, so let's get into the video. So basically, I worked 2 retail jobs over a span of 3 years. I worked at Teavana and I worked at Swarovski. I think for this video I'm just going to focus mainly on what it was like working at Teavana, and maybe in the future I'll do a video separate about what it was like working at Swarovski. The experiences weren't that different in terms of what I'm going to be talking about, which is not much of like working with the people. It's more of why I hate retail in general and like the corporations and all of that stuff. So that was a little disclaimer for the video. So for Teavana, I don't know how many of you guys know, but they were a company that's owned by Starbucks, and instead of coffee, they basically just focused on tea. Through the time that I worked there, you can kind of see where Starbucks was taking over the company just by all of the ridiculousness and the changes that were happening over the almost 2 years that I worked at Teavana. In general, working in retail, I feel like for each company, it's basically just one large sales process that they hand you and tell you this is what you're supposed to do, and that's it. I feel like they think that it would work at every single store, but newsflash, it doesn't. Like, every store is different, and I feel like that's something that's always overlooked, especially when it comes to the big corporations and like the higher ups in the companies. For example, at Teavana, we'd have this sample cart in the front of the store, and you'd have to stand there and hold a sample tray and sample to people in the mall as they're walking by. Basically, just yelling at them if you'd like to try some freshly brewed tea. For me personally, I hated sampling, so I would try to find anything else that was more important and do that instead of sampling. But nope, because sampling was the most important thing for you to do at that store. No matter what, your opinion does not matter. I repeat, your opinion does not matter. You can give a suggestion for anything that you think might work a little bit better. They might go smoother this way. Nope. Whatever's in that book is what you will be doing, regardless if you like it or not. What I hated that I feel like no one there, like none of the management ever understood, was that you can stand in the front of the store for your entire shift all day and sample to people just walking up and down in the mall. Mind you, if you're there early in the morning, it's nothing but old people jogging in the mall and people just going for walks. That's it. No one's really shopping. I can stand there all day, and no matter how many people I sample to, if they're not gonna buy, they're not gonna buy. But what I think they wanted us to do was drag people into the store that way and force them to buy tea. Over the course of me working there, but more towards the end of my time there, they developed this new sales process. So basically what they did, they were trying to promote a starter kit. In the starter kit there was 2 ounces of a tea maker, and a tea tin, and all of that came to roughly about $25. I'm gonna assume that I think they just thought that we were being too pushy of salespeople, so they limited kind of how much that they wanted you to push onto people. So that's why they came up with like the 2 ounce thing, just a starter of tea. But I mean, hey, no one's forcing you to buy tea no matter how much I'm trying to sell you. Get a backbone, say no. This is what they pushed for months and months, and that's pretty much was all our focus on just selling that. But let me do some math for you. So, if about 25 people come into the store that one day, and each starter kit is roughly about $25, according to my calculations. That's about $625. The reason I'm mentioning that is because our daily goals would be about $1,000 to $3,000 if I remember correctly. If you sell only $625 worth of these starter kits, that doesn't come close to what you're supposed to make for that day. Of course, the weekends would be a little bit busier, but typically from Monday to Friday, surprisingly even Fridays weren't that busy. To go on top of that, my manager, I personally don't believe was even that great of a salesperson. She really didn't contribute much to like our overall sales goal and what we had to make for that day. And what really irked me is that she constantly tried to explain why her numbers weren't as high as everyone else's. I mean, hey, sometimes you're just not that good. So obviously, because she wasn't making as many sales as like other people, other sales associates in the store, we had to make up for what she was lacking. And the truth is, when it comes to retail in general, I feel like you're always stuck with subpar managers 9 times out of 10. I've worked for a few different managers, and maybe one of them was decent, okay, I can live with, you know. And what sucked about you having to like sell and make up for other people is that most times in retail, I think really no matter where you work, your hours are determined by the amount of sales that you make. So it's like a big deal. You have to have good numbers in order to, you know, get hours. Your hours are solely determined not on how good you do in sales, but really just on how much your manager likes you. And that's really the truth of the matter. And if you tell me anything different, you're a liar. My manager at Teavana, I really don't think she liked me much. I mean, I really didn't care then. I definitely don't care now. And probably my number one reason as to why I hate retail is that you're basically a modern day slave. There's really no other way to put it. You work so hard for basically nothing. Some days maybe a little bit harder than others, but you get what I mean. I don't care if you guys are looking for your first job and you have like a dream of working at your favorite store. It doesn't matter. It's the same everywhere. You're overworked and underpaid. Going back to Teavana, I don't know if I mentioned it, but it was my first job, and I really did like it. I think the reason why the company failed is because they had such unrealistic expectations for what they wanted us to do in the retail stores. It was clear, really, that the company was not making much money. From my last few days there, I honestly don't remember a single time where we actually made our goal for that day. It just wasn't happening anymore, especially with the new sales process. That's also why I think they went completely out of business, and they're nothing but a name on a Starbucks cup. Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway and my experience in general is that honestly, retail, getting into it, it's probably the easiest thing that you can think of doing, especially for your first job. And I'm not totally against it. I genuinely had an okay time. If you want to go for that first job in retail, go for it. You're gonna like it at first, trust me, because I definitely liked mine at first, but you're just gonna have a miserable time. Overall, my personal opinion, I'd rather die than work retail again. It's something that worked for the time. I got over it very quickly. I couldn't stand it anymore. A lot of stress, like I said, and it's just a lot of work, but you don't get the pay to compensate for the amount of time and work that you put into the job. It's for some people, they're super dedicated. Their goal in life is to be that store manager. It's not my goal, but kudos to them. Yeah, so I think that's all for this video today. Like I said, maybe in the future I'll do what it was like working at my second retail job, which was Swarovski. Glad that's done. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time.